Good morning. Today's lesson is 6.1. We're going to be doing addition with unlike denominators. Our essential question today, how can you use models to add fractions that have different denominators? So let's investigate. Hillary's making a tote bag for her friend. She uses 1/2 a yard of blue fabric and 1/4 of a yard of red fabric. How much fabric does Hillary use? So the materials, we need fraction strips and a math board. So first we're going to find the 1/2 plus 1/4, and we're going to place the 1/2 strip and the 1/4 strip under the whole strip on your math board, like below. So let's look below. So right here you can see that we have our one whole, we have the half, and we have the quarter underneath, and together it's the sum. So we're going to find the fraction strips with the same denominator that are equivalent to 1/2 and 1/4 that fit exactly under the sum 1/2 plus 1/4. Then we're going to record the add-ins and use like denominators. So we're going to record the sum in the simplest form, 1/2 plus 1/4. Well, I know that under 1/2 I can fit 2 of the 1/4, and under 1/4 I can fit a 1/4. So the common denominator that I'm going to use is 1/4. Well, how many 1/4 can I fit under 1/2? Well, I can fit 2/4. And under 1/4, I'm going to fit 1/4. So I'm going to record the sum in the simplest form. 1/2 plus 1/4 equals 3/4, because 2 plus 1 is 3. So Hillary uses 3/4 or 3/4 yard of fabric. Drawing conclusions. Describe how you would determine what fraction strips, all with the same denominator, would fit exactly under. So if I have 1/2 plus 1/3, what are they? Well, I'm going to try the largest fraction strip, first to see if they'll fit exactly under a 1/2 and a 1/3. Then I'm going to try the smaller strips until the denominator whose strip fits exactly is found. And when I do this, I'm going to find that it's 5 1/6 strips that fit exactly under that. So let's look at the next one. The next one says, hot. Explain the difference between finding the fraction strips with the same denominator for 1/2 and 1/3 as 1/2 and 1/4. Well, for 1/2 and 1/4, 1/4 of a fraction strip that fits has the same denominator as one of the given denominators, because 1/4 fit under 1/4, but 1/4 also fit under 1/2 equally. But for the 1/2 plus 1/3, the 1/6 fraction strip, it does not have one of the given denominators. So it's not always going to be in the problem. So for example, in this problem right here, 1/4 I could use under both of them. But in this problem, 1/3 and 1/2 I couldn't use. So I had to keep going to the smaller ones until I found one that fit under both of them. And that was the 1/6. Then remember, I had 5 of the 1/6 to make that happen. Make connections. Sometimes the sum of two fractions is greater than 1. When adding fractions with unlike denominators, you can use one whole strip to help you determine if the sum is going to be greater than 1 or less than 1. So we're going to use fraction strips to solve 3/5 plus 1/2. Step 1. You're going to work with another student. Place 3 1/5 fraction strips under the whole strip on your math board. Then place the 1/2 fraction strip beside the 3 1/5 strips. I'm going to try and draw it, and hopefully I can be as close to exact as possible. Okay, so as you can see, I have my one whole right here, and then I have 3 of the 1/5, and then I have my 1/2, and it goes past the one whole, so I know my answer is going to be greater than 1. So then I have to find a tile that can fit underneath the 1/5 and the 1/2 equally, and the tile that I found was 1/10. Two 1/10s made 1 1/5, so I have 2 1/10s here, and I have another 2 and another 2 to make those 1/5. And on the 1/2, there were 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that can fit. Remember, this is an exact representation because I was drawing it. But so if I'm doing this, I have 3/5, so 1, 2, 3/5 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/10. Okay. And 1/2 equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/10. So if I'm doing this, 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10, and 1/2 is equivalent to 5/10. So 6/10 plus 5/10 is 11/10. And then if I were to put that in an improper fraction, remember 10 goes into 11 one time, so that's 1 whole. Remember, it was bigger than my whole, right? And I have 1 left over with the 10th, right? So 1 and 1/10 or 11/10. So let's share and show. We're going to use fraction strips to find the sum, and we're going to write our answers in the simplest form. So again, I'm comparing everything to my 1 whole. I have 1/2, there's 1/2, and I have 3/8. There's 1, 2, 3/8. I need to find a tile that can go under them. Well, 1/8 can go equally under 1/2, and it goes equally under 1/2 4 times. So 4/8, that's what 1/2 is going to turn into, because I'm going to be able to fit 4 of the 1/8 under here, okay, if I were drawing the tiles exactly. And then I have plus 3/8, and so how many eighths is that? That's 3/8. So 3 plus 4 is 7, and then I keep my 8, so my answer is 7/8. Let's look at the next one. Again, I'm always comparing everything to the whole bar. So I have 1/2, and then I have 2/5, because that's what it is, 1/2 plus 2/5. Well, I need a number that can go under them equally. And my tens, we already did in the last one. I know that I can get 2 1/10ths under each of these, right? And I know I can get 5 tenths under the 1/2. So 1/2 is going to be 5/10ths, and 2/5 we already know is 2/5. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Oops, sorry, tenths. 5 plus 2 is 7, and it's tenths. So the answer is 7/10. Actually, it's not 7/10, because there's 2 of them here and 2 of them here, right? So that's really 4/10, not 2/10 right there. So that means my answer is going to be 9/10. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple more. So again, I'm always comparing everything to my 1 whole. On this one, I have 3/8. So there's 1, 2, 3/8, and I have 1 1/4. So there's my 1/4. I need to find a fraction that can go into all of these. Well, 1/8 can go to 1/4 2 times. Okay, and I already have my 1/8, so that's easy. I'm just going to use the fraction 1/8 underneath. So I have 3/8 right here, plus I already said 1/4. I can fit 2 1/8 underneath of that, so I'm going to put 2/8. 3 plus 2 is 5/8, so my answer is 5/8. All right, I'd like you to do the same thing. You can use the fraction bars that are in the center of the carpet. Work with a partner. I will also be there if you need any help. Good luck.